Bonjour et bienvenue à notre rendez-vous quotidien pour la presse, en ligne et en direct sur EBS. Nous sommes aujourd'hui le jeudi 10 juin. Pour commencer, je passe la parole directement à Christiane, qui a une bonne nouvelle sur notre engagement avec les entreprises en faveur de la consommation verte. Christiane.
I have some good news today for consumers and for a greener economy. 6 companies from leading sectors are joining today the Green Consumption Pledge, which is the first initiative delivered under the new consumer agenda. These companies are Seconomy, which is MediaMarkt Saturn, Engie, Erste Group, H&M Group, Philips, and Vejo Projektaj Densebus. By joining the initiative, companies promise to boost their contribution to a green transition. They commit to concrete actions to improve their environmental impact and to help consumers make more sustainable purchases. Companies will need to prove their progress with data that they make public, and they will work with the European Commission in this process. Commissioner Reinders will welcome the 6 new companies today at 2 p.m. Representatives of the European Parliament and of consumer and business organizations will also participate. You can follow this event online, and you will find also more information online and in our daily news. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Christiane. Puis, concernant les réunions du Conseil d'aujourd'hui, je vous rappelle qu'un Conseil environnement est en cours. Le vice-président exécutif Frans Timmermans et le commissaire Virginijus Sinkevičius y représentent la Commission. Les ministres chercheront un accord sur la nouvelle stratégie de l'Union européenne en matière d'adaptation au changement climatique présentée par la Commission en février. Ils discuteront aussi du plan d'action de la Commission pour une pollution zéro présenté en mai et feront le point sur les travaux en cours en matière de piles et de déchets de piles. Le commissaire Sinkevičius participe à la conférence de presse qui aura lieu vers 17h. Je vous demande donc de garder pour lui vos questions sur ces sujets. Voilà qui nous amène à la fin de nos annonces et donc nous passons à vos questions et je passe la parole tout de suite à Erisa.
Oui, merci Eric. Bonjour, I have a question for Adalbert. The United States has upgraded Albania to the level 1 COVID-19, which means that this is the low risk of COVID-19. And now, not only Albania, but all the other members of Western Balkan countries fulfill the main criteria of less than 75 infections per 100,000 inhabitants over 2 last weeks. Is it in the time for the Commission to communicate to member states or to recommend a specific line on Western Balkan countries, given the fact that, those citizens of Western Balkan countries have been isolated for more than 1 year now? And then I remind just that in the last recommendation of the Commission last year, there was a specific reference to the Western Balkan countries. This is the question. Thank you.
Adalbert.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Erisa. First of all, allow me to perhaps welcome the good news that you report about the progress of the health situation in Western Balkans. That's, of course, very, very good news. However, when it comes to the external travel restriction that we currently have in place and that is being progressively lifted, the decisions as to which countries should be included on the list of countries from which this restriction on non-essential travel is completely lifted lie with the Council. Now, what the Council does is it applies a number of criteria, not only the criterion linked to the cumulative case notification rate, but also criteria linked to the trend of new cases, the testing rate, test positivity rate, and also an overall response to COVID-19 in order to decide which countries end up on this list. It is not a mechanical, numerical assessment. It is more of a global assessment which also includes qualitative elements and which, as I said, is entirely in the hands of the member states. Now, member states do this in the Council every 2 weeks, and it is not something that the Commission directly controls. The last proposal that we made on this travel recommendation included notably a wider set of criteria, but they still remain in the hands of the Council. However, what I would also like to stress is that the current recommendation, which has been in place since the 20th of May, includes the recommendation to member states to allow non-essential travel for all travelers who have been vaccinated with EU-approved vaccines. So this allows already non-essential travel for a vast and growing number of travelers, including from the Western Balkans. And of course, essential travel remains possible as well.
Elisa, you have a follow-up.
Eric, parce que c'est une question vraiment très importante. En fait, est-ce que c'est une question pour les trois commissaires, hein, pour le commissaire Johansson, pour le commissaire Varey et pour le commissaire Reinders. Est-ce que la Commission européenne réalise que si vous privez les citoyens des Balkans occidentaux de cette liberté limitée, il s'agit là d'une libre circulation de 3 mois uniquement, hein, pour les citoyens des Balkans occidentaux, vous tuez en fait la seule preuve tangible, palpable, concrète qui existe pour ces citoyens afin qu'ils croient en l'Union européenne. Comment voulez-vous qu'ils croient en l'Union européenne? Pour quelles raisons? Ils savent très bien que leur pays, ils vont adhérer dans l'Union européenne dans 15 ans ou pas. Donc, nous, on passe notre temps depuis 15 ans en train d'expliquer à nos audiences, voilà les bénéfices d'adhérer à l'Union européenne, mais ça, les citoyens des Balkans occidentaux, ils savent très bien que ça va arriver à un stade très avancé des négociations d'adhésion. Donc, la seule chose qu'ils ont actuellement pour laquelle ils peuvent croire et ils peuvent avoir l'espoir en l'Union européenne, c'est cette libre circulation très limitée de 3 mois. Donc, si vous les privez de ça, vous tuez l'espoir et la croyance en l'Union européenne, tout simplement. Donc, est-ce que c'est pas si facile, en fait, pour la Commission européenne de dire « Ah ben, c'est pas nous, c'est les États membres ». Ah, donc il s'agit d'une partie intégrante du continent européen. C'est l'Europe quand même. C'est pas l'Afrique, c'est pas l'Asie, c'est pas l'Australie, c'est pas les États-Unis. Moi, quand je vois que les États-Unis, ils prennent l'initiative de faire ça et de dire que voilà, la situation est améliorée, donc on doit en fait avoir un autre regard envers ces pays-là et faire un effort. Pourquoi l'Union européenne, elle le fait pas? C'est complètement paradoxal.
Elisa, merci beaucoup pour ta question. Je comprends ton émotion, mais cela dit, je crois qu'il faut remettre l'église au milieu du village. Nous parlons ici de décisions qui sont prises dans un cadre bien précis qui est celui de la lutte contre la pandémie. Adalbert vient de réexpliquer les mécanismes décisionnels qui sous-tendent la prise de décision sur ces sujets. Et donc dire est-ce que la Commission réalise l'impact qu'une décision a ou est-ce que la Commission ne peut pas simplement passer outre revient simplement à ignorer le fait que nous sommes dans un processus institutionnel qui est cadré, qui est normé et qui donne à chaque institution des responsabilités différentes. Et je crois qu'il faut que l'on comprenne bien qu'il y a un dossier élargissement d'une part et un dossier lutte contre la pandémie de l'autre. Et essayer de mettre les deux sur le même plan est faire une grosse erreur. L'Union européenne et la Commission européenne, dans ce cas précis, la présidente de la Commission européenne elle-même a dit toute l'importance qu'elle attache au processus d'élargissement et à son avancement. Mais il y a dans la pandémie actuelle des mécanismes de prise de décision en ce qui concerne la libre circulation, qui sont ceux qu'Adalbert a décrits et sur lesquels nous ne sommes pas bien entendu habilité à passer outre, en quelque sorte, et simplement essayer d'imposer, pour des raisons qui seraient liées à la perception politique que tu mentionnes, passer outre et prendre les décisions d'une autre manière. Erisa, un dernier follow-up.
Une grosse erreur. J'essaie simplement de vous expliquer qu'est-ce que ça veut dire du point de vue des citoyens des Balkans occidentaux. Je ne mélange pas du tout les deux, pas du tout. Mais il y a une émotion parce que ces gens-là, ils souffrent depuis plus qu'1 an, bien évidemment. Et la situation, elle a changé en plusieurs critères. Donc, ce n'est pas seulement le critère le plus important qui est celui des infections, c'est aussi que tout le monde peut avoir un test PCA, le faire dans les Balkans occidentaux avant de voyager, et c'est que la vaccination, elle avance bien, même s'il ne s'agit pas des vaccins qui sont reconnus par l'Union européenne, et puis le trend, il est tout à fait positif. Donc il y a là un ensemble de critères qui motiveraient dans ce cas, la Commission et les États membres de dire que voilà, on peut éventuellement considérer le fait de mettre ces pays-là sur la liste des pays sûrs en ce qui concerne la situation épidémiologique et de les moyenner le voyage en Union européenne. Merci.
Merci Erisa. Encore une fois, nous comprenons bien ce que tu dis. Nous comprenons bien les attentes des citoyens des pays des Balkans occidentaux, et Adalbert a bien précisé que la situation était constamment revue par les États membres, ou plutôt à intervalles très réguliers. Je lui repasse la parole pour qu'il donne encore des précisions sur ce point.
Merci beaucoup Eric et merci Erisa. Donc effectivement, le Conseil réexamine la situation toutes les 2 semaines pour voir quel pays pourrait éventuellement être rajouté sur la liste. Mais si je peux aussi rajouter un élément de contexte qui est je pense, assez important. Il ne s'agit nullement de remettre en cause nos engagements vis-à-vis des Balkans occidentaux, y compris en matière de circulation sans visa. On en est extrêmement loin. Il s'agit uniquement de contenir cette pandémie qui continue à être en danger malgré les avancements de la vaccination et les progrès dans la situation sanitaire. Et j'aimerais rappeler que même à l'intérieur de l'Union européenne, nous continuons à avoir des restrictions à la libre circulation et des contrôles aux frontières à cause de la pandémie. Et donc, il ne s'agit pas du tout de créer une situation dans laquelle les citoyens des Balkans occidentaux seraient traités moins bien que la situation sanitaire ne le permet. Mais l'Union européenne reste extrêmement attentive à la nécessité de contenir la pandémie le plus rapidement possible, à ne pas mettre en danger les progrès de la campagne de vaccination, afin d'aboutir le plus rapidement possible à une situation où nous pourrons abolir toutes les restrictions qui ont été mises en place suite à la pandémie pour permettre justement à tout le monde de profiter des possibilités de voyager qui existent à la fois à l'intérieur de l'Union européenne et avec nos pays partenaires pour lesquels nous avons aboli l'obligation de visa. Donc c'est vraiment une question de patience actuellement et des progrès de la campagne de vaccination.
Merci Adalbert. Y a-t-il d'autres questions pour Adalbert aujourd'hui pour nous sur ces questions de libre circulation? Ça n'est pas le cas. Je passe la parole à Athanasios.
Merci, bonjour, and since I have it from a good source, bon anniversaire, cent'anni, Eric. And now let's go to the difficult part. Yesterday you have launched this second stage of the infringement against Cyprus on the Golden Passport scheme. Apparently, it is not clear to our audience what exactly are you asking from the authorities. As you know, the program ended supposedly on October 2020, and there are some pending applications for citizenship of the Republic of Cyprus that are pending and are still under examination from the authorities. So the legal part of the question is, Are you asking the authorities to stop examining those applications because by doing so they are continuously infringing on the European law and the case law from the European Court of Justice, which explains, if we can recall, that there has to be a significant connection of the person to the land in order to do the application? Or are you calling for other retroactive remedies to remedy the situation that has occurred from the applications and the citizenships that have been already granted before the period of October 2020? Thank you.
So, first of all, thank you very much for your best wishes. And now for the difficult part indeed, to Christian. Happy birthday present.
Oh, happy birthday to you, of course. Okay. Let me maybe first bring a bit into context. Indeed, the Commission has yesterday taken the next steps in the infringement procedures regarding the investor citizenship schemes operated by Cyprus and Malta, also referred to as golden passport schemes. We are sending a reasoned opinion to Cyprus. The concerns set out in the letter of formal notice have not been addressed. While Cyprus has repealed the scheme, it continues to process pending applications. The Commission is also sending an additional letter of formal notice to Malta, in which it extends its concerns to the new investor citizenship scheme established at the end of last year. The Commission considers that by establishing and operating investor citizenship schemes that systematically offer citizenship in exchange for predetermined payments or investments, these two member states violate EU law. The Cypriot and the Maltese governments have 2 months to reply. If the replies are not satisfactory, the Commission may take next steps in the infringement process. As regards your question on the follow-up, so what do we expect? When would we maybe stop this procedure? Look, if and when any of the member states concerned end their scheme in its entirety, then the Commission will look again at the situation. We will not speculate at this stage on the possible next steps, but we have, of course, taken note of the findings of a special committee established to review the naturalizations in Cyprus, and now we are, of course, interested how Cyprus authorities plan to address this situation as a response to our reasoned opinion, and so I would not go into more details at this stage. It's now for Cyprus to look into this, and also for Malta on their side, and to reply to the Commission in due time as to how they want to address our concerns.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Christian on this infringement or on other rule of law related issues? Maciej. To press speak.
Yes, right now?
Now it works.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thank you. Maciej Sokołowski, Polish TV, TVN24. I have a question about the rule of law in Poland. I heard that Commissioner Reinders sent a letter to Polish Minister of Justice asking to withdraw a motion to the Constitutional Tribunal. It's about the supremacy of EU law versus national law. What's in the letter? What's the question? What's the demand from the European Commission? Thank you.
Thank you. Christian.
Yes, thank you, Maciej. What I can confirm is that yesterday Commissioner Reinders sent a letter to the Polish Foreign Minister, Szymański, regarding the motion of the Prime Minister of Poland to the Polish Constitutional Tribunal of the 29th of March. The Commission is concerned about this motion. We have already addressed this here in this press room at some time, as it contests fundamental principles of EU law, in particular the primacy of EU law. All judgments of the European Court of Justice are binding on member states' authorities, including national courts. The Commission therefore requests the withdrawal of the motion of the Prime Minister with the Constitutional Tribunal. Poland has 1 month to reply to this letter. The Commission, of course, reserves the right to take appropriate action as the guardian of the treaties.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Christian on the rule of law? That is not the case, so I open again the floor, and Joe, you have the floor.
Thanks, Eric, and happy birthday to joining the chorus of people on the side chat. So could you tell us, has the EU received a démarche from the US in relation to the Northern Ireland Protocol? And could you outline the conversations that the Commission, the External Action Service, have had with the US Ambassador in Brussels to discuss Northern Ireland, the Brexit deal, and the protocol itself, please?
I'm afraid, Joe, that I can not confirm any such démarche from the US vis-à-vis the EU, and we do not comment in any case on contacts between the EU and diplomatic missions. In any case, I think that we have very clear mechanisms in place in order to ensure the implementation of the Northern Irish Protocol. You know that Vice President Šefčovič was in London yesterday for a joint committee and also the first partnership council. And this is the framework in which we are working with our UK partners in order to ensure the implementation of the protocol. You have a follow-up?
Yes. Were you encouraged by the words of Jake Sullivan yesterday, the National Security Advisor for the US? I'm just trying to find them, but I can't. My notebook has gone array. But he basically said that the Good Friday Agreement should be at the kind of the centre of everything, and peace and stability on the island of Ireland in all its dimensions when kind of handling the delicate situation with the protocol. Thank you.
I could only refer you to the comments by Vice President Maroš Šefčovič yesterday, who basically reiterated, of course, our firm conviction that peace in Ireland, Northern Ireland, is tantamount, and that we have actually sought the best possible manner of ensuring within the withdrawal agreement that we can ensure, thanks to the protocol, that we continue to underpin this. Verena, is it on this issue?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for the floor. If I'm not mistaken, the President today in the press conference spoke of a trilateral meeting in the margins of the G7 summit. I was wondering if she meant a trilateral meeting including President Biden. Maybe you could clarify this. Thank you.
She meant President Michel, of course. It would be a trilateral between Boris Johnson on the one hand and the presidents of the two EU institutions which are represented at the G7. And I can already answer the next question, which I've been getting all morning, which is when will this meeting take place? And the answer is, I do not have a specific timing for the meeting for the moment. Are there other questions for us today? Tommaso.
Hi, good morning, Eric. I join, of course, the other colleagues in wishing you a bon anniversaire. Moving to my question, this morning during a joint press conference with President Michel ahead of the G7, President von der Leyen said that we need to know where the virus came from to learn the lesson and to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So what EU agency is carrying out investigations into the origins of the pandemic, and what information can you share with us on what has been done so far? Thank you.
I think she was referring in her answer to the ongoing efforts at the level of the WHO. This was the focus of her answer, and they are in the lead on this, as far as I am aware. Tommaso, follow up.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick follow-up. So are you telling that none of the EU agencies are investigating into the origins of the pandemic? Is that correct? And if yes, does this mean that you are satisfied with what the WHO is doing on this regard? Thank you.
So the first thing is that's not what I said. I was putting the comments of the president in context, and I think it's important to remember that the WHO indeed is certainly in the lead on this. Now, as to what are the internal efforts when it comes to research on the origin of the pandemic, I will see if Stefan says that we will come back to you on this bilaterally after the midday. Are there other questions for us today? Josep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, I would like to go on with the topic that I asked also yesterday about. So the question would be about the free movement in the EU, which some member states do not comply with still. For example, Finland. So what is the action plan for the Commission to make the member states comply with those rules?
Thank you. I give the floor back to Christian. Christian.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Coming back to this, I mean, I'm afraid I don't have much different to say than what I said yesterday. Maybe just to explain a bit again in which context we are. We are, of course, talking here on the one hand about the basic free movement rules that are in place in the Union, partly through the treaties and the Free Movement Directive, and then we're also talking about now concretely, of course, about the recommendation that member states have all agreed between themselves last October and updated. Well, we're updating it now the second time. Hope for an agreement very, very soon. Of course, we expect member states to also stick to that recommendation that they have agreed among themselves. It's particularly important, as you mentioned, the case of Finland, to ensure also the necessary exceptions in kind of restrictions, in particular for frontier workers and essential travelers in any case. So this is our clear position. We have made this also clear to a number of member states a while back, where we thought that there are issues, among them also Finland. So of course we would expect Finland to also fall in line with this recommendation on where there are still open issues. Of course, the Commission can, and we have spoken about that in the past, also play its role as guardian of the treaties in this context, but we have also made clear that that infringement proceedings, of course, take a lot of time and are probably not the most suitable option to find quick solutions. So I would just repeat what I said, that we have a recommendation in place that was agreed by the member states, and this should be our guiding compass for everyone to follow and to ensure that the free movement is orchestrated, or if there are still restrictions in place, that it has been done in a coordinated way.
Thank you very much. Are there further questions on freedom of movement within the EU? No, so I go back to Tommaso Galavotti. Tommaso.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for the floor. Tommaso Galavotti from Italy. It's just a question about CureVac, because I've read on Reuters from Germany that the regulatory approval of the vaccine, of the anti-COVID vaccine, might be delayed until August. I just wonder if the Commission thinks that it might cause any problem to the vaccination campaigns, and also if there are implications for your APA with CureVac in terms of deliveries. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommaso. A question for Stefan.
Thank you very much, Tommaso, and allow me also to congratulate Eric with his 40th birthday.
Yeah, you wish.
Tommaso, As far as CureVac is concerned, yes, as you know, this candidate vaccine is being examined by EMA, and if you would like to have a clear idea on the actual timeline, I would suggest you contact EMA. EMA is an independent agency checking the effectiveness and the safety of this vaccine. It's in their hands. As far as the rollout of the vaccination campaigns is concerned, I think we have referred several times in the past to the fact that we believe that a sufficient number of doses will be delivered to make sure that we can reach the 70% target of the target of 70% of vaccination of the adult population. This is in any case something we continue to work on together with the different vaccine producers with whom we have advanced purchase agreements, and we continue to follow this obviously in the context, for instance, of the steering board. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Stéphane on vaccines or health-related issues? David.
Oui, merci Eric, and happy birthday, you can see on the screen.
But that's not for me, I'm sure.
Well, it could apply to you too. It was a leftover, but it's for you too. Stéphane, yes, have you been informed by CureVac of this delay? I know that the regulatory process is in the end of EMA, but I would like to know if you, as the APA signatory, if you have been informed by the company. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Listen, we are in contact with all the companies with whom we have concluded advanced purchase agreements, including with CureVac. We have our steering boards, where we have representatives of the member state and of the Commission, meeting with the different representatives of the company. So we remain in contact with all the companies, including CureVac, to discuss the state of play, to discuss the future, to discuss deliveries, the follow-up of deliveries, and so on. So that is the case for all the companies we work with. Thank you.
Tommaso, you have a follow-up.
Yes, no, actually, it's not a follow-up. It's another question on a related topic, because just to have everything answered and to be right for the day, it's that the European Parliament has approved a resolution in which they call for a temporary suspension waiver of the intellectual property rights related to vaccines. This is a more advanced position vis-à-vis the positions of the European Commission and of the European Council. I just wonder if you're going to change your position, or you're going to stay as before. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Miriam.
Thank you very much. So, yes, we take note of the EP resolution that was voted yesterday, and we are currently analyzing it. As we have said already several times, we are open to discuss any option that can facilitate the expansion of production and equitable and universal access to vaccines and therapeutics of COVID-19 all around the world. We are not convinced that the waiver is the best immediate response, and that's why we have put forward what we call a third wave. We introduced two WTO proposals last week on a universal trade response to this challenge. In these proposals, we offer several options. The first one would be to facilitate trade and limit export restrictions, and in this respect, we call to keep supply chains open. And let me remind you that we have been exporting half of the production of our vaccines that have been produced in the EU, which amount more or less to 300 million already, so that's also a substantial contribution. We also call to the expansion of production, and we have also examples of how the EU is supporting, for example, in Africa, where we are committing 1 billion euro to create manufacturing hubs to produce vaccines. And then the third very important element, and this is more linked to the waiver that we were discussing at the beginning, is to clarify and facilitate the use of the TRIPS flexibilities. And we made concrete proposals in this respect to simplify and to make sure that developing countries can have access to these TRIPS flexibilities when there are no voluntary solutions that would work. And yesterday there was a TRIPS Council discussion where this was addressed, and there was an agreement of the members by the chair of the WTO TRIPS Council to start text-based negotiations on the basis of the existing proposals. So we believe this is the best way to really achieve swift and equitable access of vaccines to everybody.
Thank you. Are there other questions on this issue? Patrizia.
Thank you. Buon compleanno, Eric. And I have a question relating to the WHO that this morning just said that Europe is not in line what is needed to avoid a new resurgence of the coronavirus. So the WHO is saying that in the EU there's not enough vaccination. What is the reaction to it? Thank you.
So I don't think that this is a question for Miriam, but rather for Stéphane. I don't believe you're talking about the ROC group, the WHO, but about the WHO, right? So we'll give the floor to Stéphane on that.
Thank you very much for the question. I don't think I will comment on the WHO's statements or comments. The only thing I can say is what I said before. Vaccination is for us obviously crucial. We must make sure that we can reach our target of 70% of adult people being vaccinated in the European Union. We are working very hard with the different companies of vaccine producers to make sure that the necessary deliveries take place this quarter and the next quarters, so that member states are in a position indeed to reach this target. On the basis of the current provisions, we believe it is indeed possible to reach the target or to have enough vaccines delivered so that this target can be reached by the end of July. Of course, we continue to monitor the situation closely with our colleagues from the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control. On the basis of this monitoring and on the basis then, of course, of these deliveries, we are all very much working very hard to make sure that we reach this important target. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're navigating a bit between health-related questions and patent-related questions. So we may have a duet ongoing at the moment. Catherine, is your question for Stéphane on health or for Miriam on patents? But go ahead.
Eric, le bríthe sena ditch, as we say in Ireland. My question, I think it's for Miriam. It's about trade. I was wondering, Miriam, if you could say a bit more about compulsory licensing. What sort of simplifications are you proposing? And you said that there's an agreement to go ahead with negotiations on the Commission's proposal. Does that mean that South Africa and India, who initially proposed having a complete waiver, are in agreement with this? And if not, can you maybe say specifically why they wouldn't agree with that? Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let me first clarify. When I said there is agreement to pursue text-based negotiations, I mentioned existing proposals. So all the proposals that have been presented so far, including the European Union proposal and, of course, including the South African and Indian proposal. Then on compulsory licensing, you may well know that in TRIPS there are several articles that give some flexibilities for the use of compulsory licensing. There is one article for compulsory licensing for domestic use. There is one article for compulsory licensing for export, so to export that to those countries that have no manufacturing capacity. And there are also in the TRIPS exemptions for least developed countries. So least developed countries are not subject to the patent protection, so de facto they do have a waiver already. So what we have said in the European Union is that we need to make sure that these articles are practical and that can be implemented. So we need to recognize that we are currently under an emergency. So the pandemic that we are facing is a situation of emergency, which would allow for the use of the three flexibilities. We need to make sure that when this is the case and there is a demand for compulsory licensing, there is no consent from the patent owner. So this would be also an important element we need to clarify. And all this can translate into some modification of the text if necessary.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Are there other questions on the issue of patents for us today? If that is not the case, any other questions for us? That is not the case, so let me just dispel one myth before it takes hold. I am not 40 years old, contrary to what Stéphane has said, and the first journalist who will find out and send to me by SMS the year of my birth will get a bottle of Veuve Clicquot on the 1st of July in the press room. Okay, but for that you have to come. All right, see you then. Thanks a lot.